Hello to our viewers in Singapore and around the world. You're watching Words and Music. My name is Loretta Alabons. The live tours have stopped, but this does not prevent us from catching up with artists we have promoted previously at LAMC Productions. Our guest today is Ariana Savalas, singer and burlesque dancer from retro vintage band Postmodern Jukebox, founded by Scott Bradley. Today we hear from Ariana how Postmodern Jukebox was founded, where she was when COVID-19 hit, her memories from touring Singapore and Malaysia in 2015 and 2016, and our chat will not be complete if we did not sneak in a question about her famous late father, Telly Savalas, known for playing Lieutenant Theo Kojak. So let's watch.
Hi, Lauren. How's it going?
I'm good. You're looking great.
Oh, thank you. You're looking beautiful.
Thank you. And
yes.
It's so strange how we're connecting.
And listen, what a time to be alive, huh? It's
crazy.
Unprecedented, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. You have all of our fabulous posters.
Yeah.
You're amazing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I wanted to, make this a PMJ kind of vibe, for the words and music. And so Ariana, lovely to connect.
So nice to see you. How are you doing? How is Singapore right now?
We are under control,
Yeah.
Things are under control.
I'm jealous.
Because we have a rather, strict government, and everyone follows the rules.
Right. I remember being terrified if there was like somebody spit out some gum on our tour, like, don't spit out gum. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Like,
you get fined,
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Good. Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot less people would litter here if there were such serious consequences.
Absolutely. So, you mentioned about, having all these rules before you were coming to Singapore.
Yeah.
What were you told apart from the gum?
I was told very specifically two things. One, do not chew gum and spit it on the street, which is disgusting anyway. You shouldn't do that. And then the second one was you're not allowed to jaywalk. It's like a very, very punishable offense to walk across the street before you're allowed to walk across the street. I think that was those are the main two things that stuck out in my head.
Okay.
About our it was much different when we went to Malaysia. Then that was a very, very interesting. Singapore is much more relaxed in terms of what we're actually able to perform. When we were in Malaysia, though, there were some pretty strict guidelines on what we're able to wear, how we're able to speak, things like that. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Could you just remind me what they were? Because
so apparently, I think there were quite serious dress codes for the women in particular. So that made it a little bit challenging for me. I think I had to cut out half of my act because most of my act is burlesque. So we had to find a clever way around that. But I think there are some regulations about being able to see your neck and certain parts of your legs, certain parts of your, I think, arms have to be covered as well. So we had to wear pretty conservative attire. But I have to say, it's funny because you'd think that if you're performing for what you would imagine to be a very conservative audience, then it would be quiet and maybe sort of, a different vibe than if you were in a more liberal place. But it was exactly the opposite. I don't think I've ever been more surprised in my entire life, because when we went to KL, it was mind blowing. I mean, we felt like the Beatles. People were so crazy there. It was so much fun. It was the best crowd. Our Asian crowds are the best crowds in the world. They're always the best, but those two particular shows in Malaysia, they're unforgettable, especially because we were sort of prepared for maybe a different vibe or something a little bit off the beaten path. And it was incredible.
Wow, what a surprise, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Never judge a book by its cover. That's a good lesson.
Ariana, that was 2015.
We played there twice, actually. So on our last Australian tour, we also went to Malaysia again. So we were in 2015. That was my first time. And then I came back, I believe in 2018 was the last time we were there. It was about 2 years ago. So,
Yes. We
didn't
do 2019.
No, I don't think so. I think it was just 2015 the first time.
Yeah.
But what a small world. It's just so hilarious to be talking to you now after so long and in such a strange circumstance. Like, goodness.
Gosh, I wished sometimes, we're all, when we're promoters, we're just rushing through the motions.
Yeah.
And it's also crazy because everything is just get the show done. We don't have some time to say hello to all the performers.
Yeah, very rarely do we ever get a chance to actually spend time with the promoters. It's a quick hello and a handshake. Well, no more handshakes ever for the foreseeable future, but and then that's kind of it. We do the show and then we're on a bus or a plane the next night. So very, very little time to hang out with anybody, unfortunately.
So how are you coping now since there are no shows?
Oh, it's devastating. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, it reminded me of that song, the Miss American Pie song. It's like the day the music died when this all happened. Because I was in Germany. I was doing a residency in Germany for about 5 months. And we actually, right up until the very end, it hadn't been declared a pandemic yet in Germany. Other places, it was really getting hit hard, but Germany hadn't been hit that hard in March. And then we finished our residency, and literally the day after, it was declared an international pandemic. And then I was with my boyfriend in Amsterdam, and we didn't even know if we could get home. I get all these messages from friends. There was the travel ban, and we didn't know if we were going to make it back or not. And ever since, we've, especially in America, because, other parts of the world have been fortunate enough to see their cases severely decline. It's the exact opposite in America right now, especially in California, where I am in Los Angeles. Cases are just up. So we've been in the house, staying home. And it's really tragic, especially for the music industry, because, everybody else, there are certain parts of life that feel like they're kind of getting back to normal. People are sort of going back to their jobs and their lives a little bit, right? Just tiny amounts of normalcy are starting to seep in. But for musicians, we're still, we're trapped until further notice. There can't be any tours until this is, until there's at least some sort of positive incline in God, how do you even put that? Some sort of positive outcome.
And vaccine. Because it's not only the musicians, exactly. the venues.
Yeah. The venues.
The crew.
My mom just sent me an article from the National Public Radio about how especially smaller venues are just getting annihilated here. They're getting hit so hard, especially because our government doesn't really support the arts in ways that other countries do. So it's very much like every man for himself in a lot of ways, which is really tragic.
Wow. But are you getting any of the government benefits, the PPP?
No, not personally, but I do know people who are helped, but especially for independent contractors, for musicians, it's quite difficult actually to get government support or to apply for unemployment. In other countries, again, it's certainly not easy. But I think that in America, it's even more difficult in some ways than other countries because the government just isn't structured in a way that really supports people in a time like this in any sort of adequate way. So, yeah, it's very troubling.
Because we saw CNN that $1,000 payout every month. Did that happen?
It did. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there are still expansions on, because we're still in the midst of it right now. I think that they're looking to expand that further and for a longer period of time, which is all great. It's great, but it doesn't cure the underlying problem, which is that, people can't go back to work until this is solved, or at least until cases start consistently declining. We just won't be able to have any sort of long-term fixes for this.
It's a quarantine now when you go into a country, so we don't know what's going to happen. So if you book a tour, will the whole entourage go into quarantine for 2 weeks?
That's a great question. Yeah, if they're having American artists, especially coming to different countries, it's like, we're just keeping our eye out for what those policies are going to be. Is it going to be 2 weeks of sitting in a hotel? Are they even going to let us come in? It's so up in the air right now. I think we're still, when we were dealing with this in March, I was thinking to myself, like, oh, come June, July, it's going to be so different, right? And now here we are knee deep in it still. It's just, yeah.
The community cases, it's very low. It's below 10, I believe, which is great because
it's below 10.
Yes,
that's
every day.
Amazing. Jesus. Yeah.
So we're very fortunate here
incredible.
Because the testing is really diligent, and we have a very good system where you are, scanning, and then everybody has to take temperature checks every day. We have something called the Ministry of Manpower, and they do checks. They come into our offices. So we had a check last week. And
you're kidding me. So they actually come in and manage. Wow.
It's a real positive because they'll tell us, okay, you need to get a sheet of paper. You need to get your list, put all your staff names, make sure they take that list of temperatures down. And then we have to scan the app where you enter and exit. And this is for not just for offices, but all shopping centers, all boutiques.
Really?
Everybody has the app.
That's incredible. I did not know that. That is so wild.
Yeah, it's
that's so great. God, if we try to implement, it's so frustrating in America because there is I wouldn't say a large group, but a substantial group of Americans that really feel like their rights are being infringed upon with mask wearing and with all of these mandatory stay-at-home orders, this and that. And it's like, you can have a certain amount of sympathy for some of these people because obviously people are hurting economically. It's, their businesses are closing or they're suffering or they don't know where their next paycheck is coming from. So it's completely, at least some of it is entirely understandable, but it's just, so much of it is just cutting off their nose to spite their face, because if we had a system similar to that, I mean, I can't see any downside to that. It just seems like it's such an amazing system to keep things under control.
Let's see when we can open for business, because we're like, y'all, there's no shows here.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys are probably at so shopping malls are open. So that's much further than we're at.
Yeah.
But then you still aren't able to have shows or any sort of festivals, things like that.
Nothing.
Because that's understandable.
Yeah. I was at Marina Bay Sands yesterday, the casino.
Yeah. Oh my God. And the most beautiful place in the world.
It was empty. I mean, that place would have been packed.
So yeah, you can see people. That's the one with the massive rooftop, right?
Yeah.
I went up there once and had a massive heart attack because it's so high. It's just as high as you think it is. It's absolutely crazy, but just packed, people to people everywhere. But Singapore is really probably my favorite country I've ever visited and toured and performed. It's, oh my God, I just rave about it. I wrote a song about it, actually. I love that. I love everything about Singapore. It's so beautiful there.
Are you still with Postmodern Jukebox, Ariana?
Oh, yeah. You never leave Postmodern Jukebox. Okay. So PMJ is really a collective. It's very much a family collective in the way of I'll do a few tours and then I'll go in and do my own tours. I'll do my own burlesque reviews or cabarets and then come back and do a couple more PMJ tours, this and that. So, it's really sort of a rotating cast, a rotating family. But yeah, I'll I'll probably be in PMJ for the rest of my life, as long as they'll have me.
So just for our listeners and viewers who don't know who Postmodern Jukebox are, could you explain to us?
Of course, of course. Yeah, PMJ is, I would call us a retro vintage band. We started online in Scott Bradley's basement. Scott Bradley's the founder of Postmodern Jukebox. And we started out by doing videos basically in his kitchen or in his basement with a bunch of musicians coming together and posting videos online on YouTube. And then all of a sudden the videos started going viral. We take pop songs and rock songs from the modern era, and then we sort of transform them into something more Gatsby or retro vintage, something along those lines. And I guess that really resonated with people because all of a sudden we started getting millions of views on our YouTube, and now it's passed over a couple of billion, and now we've toured 5 continents, and now here we are.
When did that phenomenon start for you all?
Yeah, it started, well, pretty early, probably about 2014, because if we did our first Australian tour and tour in Singapore and in Asia in 2015, then it had to be about 2014, 2013 is when it really started shifting, right? So, you know, the videos had like a couple thousand views, this and that. It was good, but it wasn't it. And then all of a sudden videos started going viral probably around 2013, 2014. And then it started kind of snowballing this, you know, big viral momentum that was happening. And then I came into the band about 2014, and I started touring. And even then, you know, we were doing shows for maybe about like a couple hundred people, which was great. I mean, God, that was huge for us. It was incredible. And then the next year after that, we were playing Radio City Music Hall. So like all of a sudden it just went shoop like that. So I was really there, you know, PMJ was already kind of on the brink of getting very famous when I was just starting, but I really got to see sort of the before and after where it was popular, but it didn't, you know, really blossom to as big as it got until about a year into us performing around the world, and then it just kind of spiraled into something crazy. So yeah, it's been about 6 years.
We were amazed because we booked the tour in 2015, and I think we sold over 1,000 tickets.
Yeah,
it was a big auditorium.
Amazing.
It was. We were surprised ourselves. I mean, you didn't like. I think watching the videos do not do justice for the live entertainment.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we take a lot of pride in live entertainment anyway, just because all of our YouTube videos are live. But when we perform live in front of a crowd, that's where we really get to have this very immersive experience with our audience and take them back in time and have this very sort of retro feeling. People dress up, people are wearing top hats and vintage dresses, and it's amazing. And all over the world it's like that. I mean, every country we go to, people they're very passionate about that kind of music. So the live performances they're very, very fun.
Yes, I remember we had a contest to get the fans to dress up. So if you dress up, you know, you win a CD, you win a meet and greet with, you know. And Ariana, that year, Scott Bradley came on tour in 2015. Do you remember that? My gosh.
I do, because that was when he was still, you know, he still will come on tours, but he's mostly focused on curating the online videos. So he has to stay put. And he can't go on these 3-month tours. But that was when he was still the pianist for the tours, in every tour. There was no other pianist in PMJ. It was just Scott. So yeah, that was a while ago.
It was really wild, you know. And everybody came out, you know, to do the meet and greet. And everybody just, you know, the fans just flocked to, you know, to the foyer. It was just... Yeah,
they're amazing fans, especially in Singapore. God, they're so fun. It's just the most fun concert. One of the most fun we've ever played, for sure.
Thank you. And we just, you know, looking forward to have PMJ back.
Yeah, us too. Trust me. Trust
Now,
me.
I've always been wondering, at the back of my head is how is the process of, selecting the songs
Yeah.
that eventually becomes the videos that you record? How is that
Yeah.
process like, Ariana?
That's a great question. I mean, I can only speak from personal experience. So, as far as Scott and I are concerned, it's usually a conversation between us. He is hilariously brilliant in the choices that he makes. So when we first met each other, he knew that I was sort of in that very cabaret, burlesque Jessica Rabbit world, and we really wanted to do something that was very in that vein, in that style. And he said, "What about No Diggity?" And I was like, "What the?" I was like, "Really? No Diggity? Okay, sure. I love that song. It's great." But I was like from the 90s? Okay. And then it just turned out to be so sensational. Like, I didn't even hear his arrangement before I got there. I was in New York, and I literally just came into his living room, and he was like, "Let me just play this for you. I think it'll be cool." And I was like, "Great, that sounds great." And that's kind of how that started. And then some of them start with artists who will be a part of PMJ and reach out to him and say, "Hey, I have this idea. Let's do this song. I love this song, Bad Guy by Billie Eilish song." I just heard it on the radio and I thought it was bloody brilliant. And so I just texted this guy. I was like, "We have to do this song, like 100%. He's like, "Yes, absolutely." So and then he came up with this tango style cover of it. It was just beautiful. Yeah. So he's very collaborative in that way. In the way of he will take what makes you special, and he will try to form an arrangement out of, what makes you very special and interesting, and your vocal style. And he'll try to sort of cater the arrangement to that, which is really nice.
Lady Gaga and Billie Eilish, have they heard your versions of their songs?
Specifically about Lady Gaga and Billie Eilish, but I do know that Beyonce has retweeted our videos, and Celine Dion, Meghan Trainor, the Backstreet Boys. George Michael was my favorite. Oh my God. We did a cover of his Last Christmas, and then his Instagram retweet. I was like, oh my God, that was because he's my favorite musician, like pretty much of all time, with very rare exceptions. So that was kind of like I could die happy moment. Yeah, a lot of celebrity. It's really lovely because sometimes certain artists are weird about people covering their music, the royalties and this and that. But a lot of these artists just, they think that the arrangements or the vocal performance is so inventive, or they see tap dancing and they're just like, this is so cool. And then they end up supporting it and giving it a shout, which is really amazing.
It's really a genius to add the tap dancing in.
It is. Yeah. What's funny, actually, it's, you would think it is, but it's actually a very thriving art, but it has a very intimate community that knows how thriving it is, right? So it's sort of like cabaret in that way. Sarah Reich, our queen of tap, and I have really bonded over this because we have basically devoted our lives to the art forms that were sort of lost from another era that we're sort of bringing into this modern world, but especially tap dancing. PMJ's been so wonderful for providing tap dancing a platform to be seen by millions of people. I mean, that's just something that we didn't even think was possible before. And now it happened, which is very, very cool.
And whose idea was that, Ariana, to bring the tap dancing element into the scheme of Postmodern Jukebox?
Quite certain it was Scott Bradley's. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he really, especially in the beginning, was very, very. I mean, with every arrangement, he's obviously very involved in the creative process. But I think, especially in the beginning, all of those first initial ideas of what about tap, what about this, what about that, I think that could certainly be attributed to him.
What's the best compliment you've received from performing these songs from the fans? And
the best compliment is that they keep coming back. I mean, that's really the best compliment we can receive is, it's like maybe you'll buy a ticket once, but you won't buy a ticket 3-4 times. Some of our fans, and it's always different. The show is always different. It's never the same show because we always rotate the cast and there's so many different songs and arrangements for people to enjoy, even if they've seen the show before. But yeah, that's definitely the biggest thank you that we've received, is that people just continue to sell out our shows and watch our videos. And as far as the best compliment I've ever received, well, I think that I particularly love when wives of husbands that, I don't know if you've ever seen my act in the show, but a lot of the times I will get a little cheeky and very close and personal with the gentleman in the audience. And you would think that most people would think that, wives or girlfriends would get really weird about that, but the funniest thing is when I'll get these messages after the show from the wife. Thank you so much. That was so funny. I've posted it online. That was my husband's anniversary present. And that just is so hilarious when that happens because, they're all enjoying seeing their husbands get a good rise, get a good embarrassing laugh.
Okay. Your father is a very famous actor. My husband, he's American. When I told him, Ariana Savalas, and she was here during, Postmodern Jukebox. And he was telling me, definitely the daughter of Telly Savalas, right? And I reached out to you and I said, oh my God, how awesome was that?
Oh, thank you. That is so sweet. That's so nice that you're a fan. You don't seem old enough to be a fan of my father's. That's very...
No, we all know the
that's
shows.
so sweet.
My
Yeah,
gosh.
that's
It's,
amazing.
that's the amazing thing about, American television. It travels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It really, it's one thing that, I mean, there's so much wonderful art from all around the world, film and plays. But I think there's something really spectacular and just brilliant about American cinema and the films that have come out of, Hollywood are just, I mean, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I agree there for sure.
Now, can you tell us about your Hollywood upbringing?
Sure.
Please?
Well, I mean, I could certainly tell you, but it's probably not as it would. I didn't know it was interesting until much later in my life, because when you're a kid, you just think that's entirely normal. You think it's entirely normal to live in a hotel and not in a house. You think it's normal, for every person to know your father and, hear your last name and immediately, it's just, but when we were kids growing up, it was just, we didn't know anything different. So there wasn't anything to compare it to. I think that it wasn't until, my dad died and then we moved to Minnesota. And if you know anything about Minnesota, compared to Hollywood, it's very down to earth, very, very relaxed. People are very friendly and very earthy and very kind. It's just a very, very different scene than like Hollywood, this and that. And I don't think I really realized like how crazy our upbringing was until I went there. And we really, because my mom wanted us to grow up very normal. She didn't want us to grow up in Hollywood surrounded by a bunch of kid celebrities, doing dumb stuff and getting into trouble. And, she wanted us to have like a normal kind of upbringing.
Good on your mom.
Yeah, she made the right decision too, because that was the best thing she could have done for us after our dad died, for sure. So then from 8 years old on, I lived a very, very normal life in Minnesota and just went to school and did musicals and did plays and this and that. And it wasn't until I was about like 18, because when he died, I was really young. And then when I was a teenager, there wasn't like, we didn't have YouTube, so by the time YouTube came around, all of a sudden, I was able to really Google my dad in a way that I hadn't been able to really, unless we went through old tapes that we had or VHS tapes and this and that. And I had seen a few of Kojak and this and that, but I didn't really know how famous he was until I was about 20. And then I started really Googling him and watching Dean Martin roast him in a comedy special. Like, what the hell is going on? You see your dad getting, made fun of by Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, and all of a sudden you're like, God, you were really famous. Jesus, I didn't even realize. And so it really took me until I was in my 20s even to really know how crazy it was. But most of my childhood seemed pretty normal, honestly. There were a lot of very glamorous elements to it, but when you're living in it, just kind of seemed like normal life.
But was your dad with you all the time in the hotels?
Oh,
or was he working?
All the time. All the time, yeah. And we were always with him. That's the thing. It's like I think that my brother was one of the first children to ever be invited to a White House dinner, and I don't think he was invited. I think that my dad just forced him to come, to allow the kid to come to the White House, because I don't think that was allowed. But he was so crazy about us, he was so obsessed with us, that we just went everywhere with him. So it really wasn't, there wasn't a whole lot of time apart. In the very short time we had him quite a bit, which was wonderful.
And you posted a very nice picture on your website with Tom Jones and.
Oh yeah, I forgot that's on my website. That's so great. He's amazing.
You should post some more pictures. People just love these moments. When you capture the moments.
That was an amazing night with Tom. Tom actually came and
was that George Hamilton?
It was George Hamilton, yeah.
Yes, very handsome, I have to
one
say.
of my shows. Oh. I know, he looks really great. It's so funny. A lot of people make fun of him for his orange skin, but he actually, in person, he looks very, very handsome. And Tom Jones doesn't look a day over 45. I mean, he's just, and his voice is still literal perfection. It's like pitch perfect perfection. His tone, his range, he has everything that he had when he was 30 years old. It's just unbelievable. But that picture.
What year was that? So that just helped me understand.
God, that was only a couple of years ago. I think it was only about 3 years ago or so. And I met Tom through a mutual friend of ours. And he came to my show in Beverly Hills. I was doing a show in Beverly Hills, and he came, and it was my birthday. And somebody, it was so funny because he was sitting sort of in the back, and, people obviously knew he was there, but didn't want to draw attention to himself and this and that. And then they were singing me happy birthday. And I don't know, do you know who Dave Cause is?
Yes.
The saxophone player. Yeah, he's amazing. Very, very dear friend. And he knows Tom very well. So he started egging him on to sing me happy birthday. And I was dying. I was absolutely dying. I was like, I don't know what the hell is happening in my life right now. But then all of a sudden, Tom starts singing happy birthday to me. And then he goes up, my band, I just finished my set. And so then my band was still on stage, and he came up on stage and just, I think he sang about 3 or 4 songs, something like that. I just impromptu, randomly, and I was like, I can die happy now. This is the most amazing birthday that's ever, or one of the best days ever. It was just incredible. But
that photo was taken at a show in Beverly Hills, and George Hamilton happened to be there.
Right. Yeah. So I also had, George Hamilton isn't a friend, but I had met him through a mutual friend. And then he found out about my show and also came along with Tom to the show, which was really, it was lovely. They were extremely supportive. That was so sweet.
And Tom Jones know your dad?
I'm sure he did. Yeah. I haven't spoken with him about it, but I'm quite sure that they must have crossed paths at some point. Hollywood's very small, so I would be surprised if they didn't.
New album last year, right? Sophisticated Lady.
Yeah, so I released that with a few extra sort of intimate acoustic bonus tracks. And I was actually supposed to release a full record, a full studio record in March of 2020. It was supposed to be out, and we had to postpone it because of COVID.
I want to talk about your incredible acting career as well.
Oh, that's so kind. That's too kind.
Yeah, so, you have so much. We just saw you at that one moment in Singapore. Like, I've got to know you through your phenomenal burlesque, shows and your singing as
Oh,
well.
thank you.
But, the acting, when I was doing, looking through, I said, oh my God, Criminal Minds? I love that
Yeah. Oh God,
show.
that was an eternity ago. I love that show. That was a highlight of my career to be on that show because I love. Oh my God. I mean, Mandy Patinkin was on that show. Who else was on that show that I loved? Joe Montana, Matthew Gray Gubler, so many, Paget Brewster, so many brilliant actors on that show. Yeah, it was an amazing experience.
And who did you
But
play?
I played a young girl who was a hitchhiker named Bobby, and she got into the wrong truck at the wrong time and got abducted. And it was it was a very emotional appearance for sure. But I really look nothing like myself. It's so funny because that was oh God, ages ago. It was before I started really having a music career. And once that took off, then I had to stop acting quite a bit because I was on tour so much. But I look so different. It's so funny. If you really watch the episode, you'll see like my eyebrows are this big.
Because you're so young, right?
So
Like,
young,
yeah,
baby face,
yeah.
just like, yeah. That was before I learned how to do my makeup. It was a different time.
Do they have the makeup artist to do all the hair and
They do. Yeah,
okay.
they had to make me look dead too. Well, spoiler, I die in the end of it. But yeah, they have all of they make you white or bruised, or they do your makeup, and yeah, they were great. They were great. Yeah. But they do everything for you.
Would you ever
Which
go
is
back
nice.
to acting?
Very much so. Yeah, I've always planned to. I mean, it's funny because I think at a certain point in your career, you do really have to choose a focus, right? Because when I was first starting out, my focus was pretty much anywhere that would hire me. That was I just wanted to act. I wanted to perform. I wanted to sing. I wanted to dance. I just wanted to make art. That was it. I just wanted to be an artist, and I didn't care where. I just needed to. But the thing is, it's so unbelievably competitive, and it's so cutthroat, and it's like so many people have told me, and I've told this now to younger artists. It's like, if you can do anything else and be happy, do it. Do not do it, because it is as bad as people say it is. It is, it is wonderful as it is tragic. Sometimes you are just wearing your heart on your sleeve and you are going out there, and it's feeling very exposed. So at that time in my life, I was just, I was splitting my focus into so many places, acting and singing and that. But because it's so competitive, I wasn't able to actually give 100% to any one part of it. So I had to make this decision then to really, my music career was sort of it was before PMJ. I started performing, and then that kind of caught on, and I started doing these tours and these cabaret tours. And then that started gaining this momentum, and I was like, I have to do 100% focus on this, because if I'm 50% here and 50% here and everybody else is 100% in one place, then I'm just, no matter how much talent somebody has, you're always going to miss out. So I had to make that decision. And I think it was a very good decision, but it worked out for the best for sure. But acting's always been a huge part of my life. I started out as an actress in musicals and plays. That's where I had my training, was as an actress, studying Shakespeare in London, studying acting in Los Angeles, and that's how I got my start. So hopefully that will be incorporated into my career somehow. But it's just been all tours all the time for the past 5 years, which has been wonderful.
Definitely. I'm so glad that you just decided to focus.
Yeah, I think you can be a double, triple threat, but you also need to have that focus, or at least in my experience, that was what changed my career is having that focus and really just putting your nose to the wire and not getting distracted by anything else and just making that happen.
I want to just find out from you, since there's been 4 or 5 months of us being stuck at home, how are you making use of this precious time?
Well, I have been collaborating with some of my dear friends. My friend Juan Pablo de Pache, he's on a show. He's a brilliant actor, singer on Netflix. The Fuller House is the new version of it. It's on Netflix, and he plays the most hilarious character. He's so brilliant. And he does this mini series that he wanted me to act in. So I collaborated with him, and we did this wonderful scene. And I've been writing music. I've been Postmodern Jukebox has done a few online shows. So we've done some live streaming shows.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Stage It, right?
Stage It, yes, which has been a very interesting experience. Because it's a very intimate experience in a way that you don't. It's obviously not the same thing as performing for thousands of people, but it's a whole new platform and it's a whole new world. So yeah, we've really just been taking this time to write, to explore new ways to make art in a way that is creative and that wasn't possible maybe before. Because people still want art in their lives, they still want music in their lives and performances, and so we need to find creative and inventive ways to bring that to them with the quality that you experience from live shows. So that's been an interesting problem to solve for sure. But that's what I've really been spending most of my time doing. Yeah.
On the Stage It, I mean, was there a lot of fans coming in to watch this? Okay.
Crazy. Sold out like 4 times. We kept having to add more tickets because people just, we capped it at a certain amount, and then more people wanted to come and more people wanted to participate. So it was shocking for us to see the amazing response from that. It was lovely. It was really, really lovely.
So are there going to be more shows, more Stage It shows?
I think so. Yeah. I think, we really have to, because it's a new platform and because all of us, especially at PMJ and even with my own solo shows, the attention to detail that we put into live shows, we need to be able to translate that into stream shows that we can be very proud of, right? And we want the fans' experience to be brilliant, even if they're just sitting at home, from their couch watching us, on a live stream. We still, are trying to find a way to curate that in a way that we can be extremely proud of what we're putting out. So I do believe that we will have shows in the future, but this is just a new platform for us. So we're discovering the way to make that really an incredible experience for our fans, so that it's, something they can really feel confident about showing up to, and that they're going to expect a brilliant show.
We are wondering, how to do the streaming, and it's
wild. It's a new world. Yeah. I can barely turn on my computer, so this is like, what the hell is going on? It's so weird. It's such a weird time to be alive, but it'll become the new normal. I think, we'll just have to find a way to make this as beautiful, or at least as beautiful as it can be. Oh, my dog wants to say hi. He's begging. He's begging up at this is Ludwig.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. It's so nice to see you. Oh my goodness. This is so lovely. And hopefully we'll be able to actually see each other in person soon.
Send our regards to the PMJ family.
Oh, I will. They all miss Singapore. We can't wait to come back. And I have to bring my burlesque show to Singapore too. I've always been dying to, because we've been touring around Europe and around America, but my next my next big adventure, I want it to be in Asia for sure.
Thanks, Ariana, for the catch-up. So lovely chatting with you. And of course, we look forward to having Postmodern Jukebox back in Singapore and seeing your burlesque show. Now, for fans new to Postmodern Jukebox, you can visit their YouTube channel and check out their arrangements of rehashing today's pop hits with their own unique twist. Now, if you're a new viewer to Words and Music, you can visit our website, lamcproductions.com, to view past celebrities we have interviewed during COVID-19. Okay, in our next episode, I'm excited to tell you we speak to Manila Luzon, double all-star drag queen from RuPaul's Drag Race. So until next week, my name is Loretta Alabons for Words and Music.